Welcome to the Ecom Pulse podcast. I'm very excited about our guest today, Don Chubai. The live shopping guru and the principal of Live Selling School is in the house. Welcome, Don. How are you?
I am great. Happy New Year. And thank you so much for having me on the show.
Welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. It's great to have you here. I'm super excited about our show today. So, Don, for the people that don't know you, tell me a little bit about yourself and what you are working on right now.
So now I get to call myself a veteran broadcaster. I've been in the world of television for well over 20 years. The bulk of my background was in traditional broadcasts, but for the last 7 years, I've been working in the world of TV home shopping and live stream shopping. And over the last course of the year, I decided to combine all of my skills and expertise in not only broadcast, but media training and live stream and TV home shopping to create Live Selling School, where I am cultivating the next wave of live selling talent and working toward building up live selling skills and live stream shopping strategies for both brands and for talent.
No, that's amazing. So you're really like all these years at the forefront of media, video, commerce, like at the crossroad of all these exciting, opportunities and technologies. So please share with us, how do you see the landscape of home shopping has evolved, especially now with the advent of live stream shopping? Give us your perspective of how things have evolved throughout the years.
Well, the world obviously of TV home shopping has been around for a half a century, right? 50 plus years.
Correct.
And it's really the nucleus, I think, clearly of what live stream shopping is. What's interesting to me is while, of course, we do see the slowdown generally of TV home shopping, let's face it, it's not necessarily going anywhere, certainly anytime soon. It's sort of the
Exactly.
OG, the original of what we would see for traditional, even online and e-commerce. It was sort of what started it all. But what I look to is even what traditional home shopping is doing is incorporating live stream shopping as a really also good indicator of the importance of evolving those strategies, still recognizing and respecting the original sort of strategies, but helping them evolve and almost translate into not only modern day influencers and ambassadors and brands, but of course, as you know, incorporating modern brands and retailers to meet their customer where they are, which is of course online and on mobile.
Exactly. So there are many, like, let's call them legacy technologies, blueprints, scripts, production tactics that are still valid today. But nevertheless, there are new tactics that came in, like probably the last 3 to 4 years, with live shopping that's originated from China, obviously. So what do you think is relevant still today from the days that you've started? And what I think are the new factors that are important today in modern live shopping?
So, without question, strategy is always going to be important. And I think that's sometimes
Exactly.
a big mistake that people make when they decide to go live on whatever platform, right? Go
Yes.
live is the idea is that they can just kind of wing it. And the good people, the good hosts, and the good presentations make it appear like everything is incredibly spontaneous, which it can be, but it's all of the preparation and strategy that allows you to still come across with a professional level product. And by professional, I don't necessarily mean it has to be fancy. And that's where we take the legacy sort of concept of home shopping and think, okay, it's got to be really formal. You've got to have like the table and the proper lights. And yes, you do need elements of that, but the idea that it can still be intentional in its strategy, a theme also being very, very important with respect to that as well. So taking what those networks have done, which is themes and strategies and proper setup and staging and having your props, thinking to what your demonstrations are, that's important to carry forward. It's like the 2024 in and out list, right? So in is
Yeah.
still going to always be that planning. Out is going to be the idea of necessarily thinking everything has to be perfect before you go live. My perspective is go live but go to it with a plan, and that will allow you to still have a great product that comes out, even if it's not at perfection.
Exactly, exactly. So authenticity is a keyword. I mean, everyone is using this as a key differentiators, right? But it's not enough. I guess it needs to be also professional and structured, and consistency is also the key, right? So authenticity obviously is a major issue. I'm sure you're working with your students on authenticity. So maybe you try to describe what it really means.
So it's interesting that you say that, because in my online course and when I coach my students, we do talk about obviously authenticity. And
Yeah,
isn't it interesting that that was the word of the year, according to
correct.
one of the dictionaries, right? Authenticity, because yes, we have so much technology available to us. And yes, with I know it can get scary for a lot of people, and in particular, the customer. I think the customer gets very, very concerned because they think with that, there is no one hearing what their needs are and anticipating, and really that authentic voice that builds trust. So, to me, in this world of technology and AI, that authenticity is going to be even more important. So, in my course, there's actually, and I won't be able to list them all off because I usually have a list with them, but I've identified 10 different components to authenticity. And of course,
Wow.
trust is an incredibly important part of it. But how do you convey that through technology, right? Through a screen where you can't actually see the whites of someone's eyes, or to really read some of the other elements of the body language. So other parts of it are things like product knowledge, right? They can trust what the host is saying because of that authentic interpretation of what some of those key features are and how they identify and translate into a benefit. Obviously, the way you communicate, the way you listen, the way you anticipate needs. There are so many elements of it, but authenticity is what breeds trust. And trust ultimately is what can facilitate sales and customer conversion. Something that traditional e-commerce, as we know, and why live stream shopping is so important for brands as you head into the future, is because technology can't be authentic. I don't care. I know, and there's lots of AI out there that will say, oh, we can, make a
Yeah,
person say what we want them to say.
yeah.
But authenticity is a human emotion and a human conveyance of how we communicate. Technology will never be able to match what a human can do with authenticity.
Yeah, so this is really interesting because what you're saying actually is that everyone can be authentic and interesting, and this is something that you can learn, right?
Well, it's everyone's authentic. The learning is how can you project it? How can you amplify it? So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Authenticity doesn't necessarily mean that everyone has to like you.
Okay.
Authenticity has to do with being able to communicate your true self. If you watch a comedian on television and they're funny, but not to everybody, right? They're not funny to everybody. Not everybody
Sure.
likes everybody,
Sure.
but you know that's who they are. And that is what breeds the
Yeah.
trust. Another element of authenticity is consistency. Now, when we talk about home shopping and broadcasting, we think, okay, consistency is like every Monday, we're going to do a show, or every third Saturday, we're going to do a Saturday sip and shop, for
Yeah.
instance, as an idea, right? The consistency when it comes to authenticity, and why that is one of the key components, is because it's the consistency of who you are. So if you were to follow me on social media, you would get the same person as you're hearing talking on this podcast, and the way I
Correct.
communicate. If you were to see a different side of Dawn, now you're kind of going, well, whoa, 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 which Dawn, or which host, or which
Yeah.
salesperson is the one speaking to me? Is it the one that's telling me what they really think and actually cares to put the right product into my hand? Or is it the Dawn that's just trying to make a sale? Because here's the thing. Yes, with live shopping, and yes, as hosts, our job is to sell. As a TV home shopping host, I had targets not only by the day, by the minute,
But the
right?
minute.
Dollars per minute,
Yeah.
by an
Wow.
hour. Now,
Wow.
we don't want returns, right? So the thing is it's not my job just to sell you something because my job is to sell. I want to make sure I'm getting the right product to you. So part of the authenticity as well is advocacy. this product might not be for everybody, but here's who it's for. And listen, if you're not that person, I bet you've got someone in your home. I bet you've got somebody in your home who is tired of living with pain
Sure.
and tired of not being able to do the things they want to do. You can still make the sale while being authentic.
Correct. Correct. I mean, you mentioned the word broadcast, right? And, I'm with you. I'm like celebrating 25 years in the video business, right? So, I mean, for millennials, Gen Z, this is like a very strange word, broadcast, right? I mean, I've started when, video was analog, and I was in early days of moving from analog to digital, right? And all these years, I mean, the US was like innovating, right? We always took technologies from Western world and adapted them, and then there was a migration to, you know, other parts of the world. Let's call them emerging markets, right? But with live shopping, we see like the other way around, right? It's a trend that started in Asia, and China is doing huge numbers over there. Like just the live shopping, revenues in China are much bigger than countries in Europe, just the overall e-commerce business volume, right? Now, how do you see this adopted in Western world? I mean, this Chinese way of selling. I mean, people are just spending hours or even days continuously selling products, and some of them are even some of these sellers are like billionaires, right? How do you see the adoption in the U.S. and North America of this new trend?
So, first of all, I don't think we're ever in the Western markets going to see. I think you've probably seen it too, the viral video of the gal in China, and someone slides in a box and she pulls it up and she throws it out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, this is amazing. Yeah.
I'm just amazed by her hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
But no, let's be honest. We're not. I don't think we're going to be there. I mean, and
Sure.
just the scale. It's just not going to happen. And I'm going to say that I think it's that perception of what China is doing that has created a bit of fear, maybe if I can say that, or hesitancy. Maybe that's the better word, with
Hmm.
some brands because they think we're not that. And I think there's also, for some, a hesitancy to get involved with live shopping because they also think, oh, that I don't want to do TV home shopping.
Yeah.
That's where I think we've got to do a better job, perhaps, of
Yes.
embracing certainly the heritage of what home shopping does. I mean, that's the very basis of my HSH method for my live selling school, 100%, because
Hmm.
that's really just a sales strategy. We're talking about a sales strategy to connect through the
Sure.
screen. But
Sure.
I think it's the fear that you have to have a big studio, a huge setup, 12 camera people, an audio board, right? Someone switching. And I know for the different generations and Gen Alpha will have
Okay.
no clue what we're talking about.
Exactly.
But,
Yeah.
but I think that's that concern that maybe has some people not even willing to dip a toe. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing more adoption of at least the idea of going live. And I say this because I've had recent conversations, as we all do in this business. We're constantly educating and evolving because by the time this podcast airs, there'll be new developments in how certain things are done. So it's
Sure.
it's a constant finger on the pulse, which I know you have with Vimy as well. But I just had meetings with it was a PR firm, and they represent several different brands. And they're really, I mean, they focused a lot on hospitality, but they're really starting to get
Okay.
a lot more in the way of consumer brands.
Hmm.
And what they've been saying is that there's a lot more pressure on their agencies to deliver more with their influencer marketing
Sure.
because they're not getting out of the influencers, frankly, the return to what
Exactly.
they're paying. And this to me is exactly why live shopping is one of those important elements in a marketing strategy to incorporate,
Sure.
because now we're doing right the we're bridging that gap. I mean, I know people listening to your podcast and watching this broadcast, they understand what live stream shopping is, right?
Yeah.
The bridging the gap between in person and online. But there's still a lot of brands in the Western market, I'm finding, that they still think, oh, I've got to go pitch onto TV home shopping to get access to that. And you don't. It's like
Yeah,
you need a phone, a light. Some people don't even worry about lights, but yes, get a light, do the professional setup as far as a light, but it's technology. If you can work a phone, if you can, type on a computer, as far as that level of expertise, you can do it. And I want
sure.
people to start to understand that.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think that also from our experience, working with brands and retailers and from various research that we do, I mean, we don't need to convince that video works, right? Video marketing, let's call it shoppable video, video commerce, or live shopping. And by the way, it can be live or non-live or
Mhm.
linear or pre-recorded, stream live. All these scenarios are, everyone knows that it's a very, very powerful tools, right? But I mean, in terms of media productions, like video is the most complex, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. We talk about authenticity, and people needs to be more trained or standing in front of cameras and having the right scripting in place, lighting and like a good camera and audio, and definitely they can shoot out and obviously sell products and educate their customers. It's not just selling, right? It's also education, training, customer support. Video is like everywhere, and on every report it's just growing and growing and growing. So having that in place, and the customers and the like brand retailers and even enterprises of any sort, they know that video works, and almost all of them are investing huge amount in video. Like those video that, let's call them today, like short form videos that they're uploading, can be organic or paid over social media. Right now, the live shopping component is something that everyone wants to try, but obviously they have challenges. So my next question is, what are the common challenges that you hear from clients when they're contemplating or trying to think about live shopping and want to implement it into their organizations?
They don't know where to start,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and this is why we're having this conversation, because I want to sit there and let you know,
Okay, so let's help them. Let's
yeah,
help
the
them.
start
Let's
is
give some structure, some knowledge.
so content, right? We all
Yeah,
know that content is king, but what does that mean when it comes to getting ready to go live? It's having a plan. And I always say, yes, okay, so let's assume you've got a host that is A, comfortable on camera, B, fine with talking all by themselves, right? Now you can do
yeah.
co-hosted situations, and so that's 100% a strategy. And it's essentially like having an interviewer would
Hmm.
be at the helm doing all the business part. And then you could have an expert, someone that is, maybe a formulator of a skincare line or a designer. So let's assume you have that in place. Then let's assume you've got the technology, a few lights, nice quiet room, throw a background. This is from Amazon. It's not
Yeah.
complex. Like it's like a little wallpaper. I pinned it up with tacks. Like it doesn't have to
Sure.
be super
And you
fancy.
also give them various tech recommendation, like for gears and stuff, right? You can also help with
Exactly.
that.
So I've got a
Yeah,
whole list, of
exactly.
the
Yeah.
gear that's good. But so what I would say is to get started, pick a theme. Now in traditional broadcast, mainstream media, right? So when you turn on, folks that are listening, that again, this is Gen Alpha, we're turning on the TV here, right? If you were to
Hmm.
turn on a TV, why do you watch something on Netflix? Why do you watch a series? Because you like the topic, you like the theme, you like the general concept. So
Sure.
first things first, pick a theme. Doesn't have to be hard. If you're in fashion, it's the top 3 items you need today that are under $20 to transform what's in your closet.
Yeah. Now, when
That's how
you
you start.
now that theme or plan, are you referring to like the next video I'm going to produce, or like the general plan, like a quarterly plan or a long plan?
That's the next video. The
The next
next
video.
video,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Devise a content calendar, right? And I've got one at livesellingschool.com. People can download if they want. I've got a Q1 calendar and I'll put them out every quarter.
Nice.
But there's a lot of like national days. And let's face it, there's like 500 things that can happen on every day. And someone's
Correct.
national day, but that's okay. We latch onto that, right? So take a look at, okay, let's even choose Valentine's Day. We know Valentine's Day is coming up in whatever, however much time.
Hmm.
So now is not too early to start going, ooh, I want to post a video, and it could be a video, you're right. And I'm glad you said that it doesn't always have to be live, but the
Hmm.
skills still apply, right? How to convert, hooks,
Sure.
call to actions, permission to buy, demonstrations, gamification, right? That can happen even on video. You just have to do it a little differently, but it's all still applying. So we know Valentine's Day is coming up, or Christmas, or Mother's Day, or whatever you want to celebrate. National Cheesy Sock Day. That's coming up,
Hmm.
I think, in the next couple of months. It's on my
Wow.
calendar.
Okay.
Start
Doing it
thinking
right
about
now.
that,
Yeah.
right? Am I going to do a short? Am I going to do a live? The live can be 10 minutes. The live could be 5 minutes. It could be a product activation, but think of the theme that
Yeah.
you want to do, and then create that as that nucleus, and then work out what you're going to do. Are you going to have a guest? Are you going to have links? Are you going to have a click to buy? Are you going to do a Q&A? Revolve it around your content, but make live shopping or video commerce or social commerce a part of that digital strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. So we have a plan, we have a theme, we have the right gear, we are highly motivated, we think we are authentic. What's the structure or the plan that you can suggest for that specific event? Is there any blueprint that you can share? Is it
Sure.
depending like niche? Every niche has its own. Or I mean, I'm discussing, trying to get more information about, the scripting, the structure. Let's say it's a 30-minute session. How do you like? What's the best way to structure that?
So first of all, yes, niche is always great. And it's nice to have your host be within a niche, but keep in mind, as home shopping hosts, I've done shows where we have like every niche that's within one show.
Within one
And that's
show?
why,
Yeah.
of course, and that's why the theme also is important, because it could literally be like Dawn's top favorite things that you need for a new home that you're moving into. So it
Yeah.
could be that.
Yeah.
But so yes, as far as like a scripting, so I there's like, for me, there's kind of this 8-step formula to a successful live shopping event. And often I
Hmm.
start it with a hook, even before an
Correct.
introduction. And sometimes,
Yep.
with live, yes, you got to wait for people to join. And I get it. It's hard to kind of come out of the gate with a big hook, but come out with that hook right away. And for anyone listening, a hook it's the grabber. It's like, why are you watching? It's like when you watch a movie trailer, sometimes it's that movie trailer that gets you to the movie theater. Sometimes it's the star, so that might be the host.
Yep.
Sometimes it is the topic, the concept. Great. So this is all stuff that exists. We already are humans that behave this way based on what's put out there. And so we're doing the same way. So I start out with the hook. Then I give you the idea of who I am and why I am the one to be able to help you through this journey. Right.
Right.
So I am
Yeah.
a product expert. I'm not a makeup artist, but let's say I was and I was doing a beauty show.
Okay.
I would want to let you know what my credibility is. Okay. Then I give everyone sort of a lay of the land. So here's what we can expect in the next, you said 30 minutes. Okay. So today I'm going to show you 5 products. They work well together, but if you don't have the budget to get everything in the show, that's okay. Each one of them can work independently with what you already have
Hmm.
potentially. Okay. So that would be how I would go. And then I would get into that first product, and that first product. So the hook off the top of the show is really like, why do people want to watch? Over the course of this half hour, I'm going to show you a product that can give you immediate results, or I'm going to show you a product that is going to give you 12 different outfits with that one outfit.
Yeah.
That's the hook
Like
for the show.
value bombs right from
Right.
the get go. Yeah.
And then each individual product that you bring to air. So for the young people, when we're on any kind of screen or sound, that's called air, right? We're bringing you
Sure.
to air. So each one of those products also needs a hook, right? So we go through that. And I would argue too that when anyone is presenting, the feature the benefit is more important to the viewer or the shopper or the customer than the feature. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because features, of course, they're important. We need to know how much strength or wattage is in that blow dryer, 100%. But if you
Hmm.
sat there and said, okay, this blow dryer is 1600 watts, honestly, I have no idea what that means. But if you told me that wattage will dry my hair in 50% less time, so 50% faster, Now that matters. So you're
Correct.
not going to lead with the fact that this is a blow dryer that has 1600 watts.
Hmm.
You're going to lead, even though the manufacturer probably would say, "Ooh, make sure you get that 1600 watts out there." Yes, it's important, but it's only important because of the why. Why is that important? You're hearing
Sure.
someone say it in your ear. That's my biggest strategy. Here, as a host that's talking to yourself all the time, and if you don't have a lot of interaction on your feed, I mean, hopefully you do, right? Because
Sure.
that's what people, communicate with you. But always be hearing in your ear. Why does that matter? It matters because it dries your hair faster. So you're going to lead with that. That's the
Yeah.
hook.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't want to like spray and pray or provide all these dumping features. We need to
Blah, blah,
speak
blah, blah.
speak the value language and benefits for customers. So you mentioned the hook, like which is within the event itself, but I think the hook starts much earlier, right? When you promote the event, when doing all these social media campaigns, probably to invite shoppers to the event, and obviously there is a lot of activities post event. So I would love to hear your thought about some best practices, prior to the event itself and after the event itself. How do you maximize, the sales potential, the customer loyalty, all the engagement that you are developing with your customers?
Yeah, this only works if you treat it the way you would an event. And I'm going to say, let's start from the brand standpoint. So
Sure.
if a brand is out there working with a live shopping event or a video shopping event, or have included any element of what we're talking about into their strategies,
Hmm.
you would never have a big sale in store without promoting it, right? Because otherwise
Sure.
we're going to get nobody at the front door.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the promotion does have to happen within the brand, but it also needs to happen with your host. And some of the mistakes that I see, in particular, and this just really has to do with not setting the right tone with your host or your influencer of what your expectations are.
Hmm.
So I can speak from a standpoint that I know of brands that have hired influencers to be a host and paid a lot, but with nothing in the contract that said, "Oh, by the way, let's make sure you also promote this on your feed." And if there's the ability to simulcast, obviously platforms, many of them are able to do that now,
Sure.
or at the very least share after the fact, right? So there's that. So make sure that you're also engaging with your host on what their role is to help
Hmm.
get the success of Let's Talk Live, of getting people to tune into your live feed. So there's the promotion ahead of time, and that should happen, can happen weeks ahead, but it's the
Correct.
constant drip of promotion, right? Coming up next week,
Hmm.
mark it on your calendars. Hey, and also promote any other incentives for people to join live.
Exactly.
For
Exactly.
instance, a discount, right?
Correct.
For those that are tuning in live, and for 15 minutes after, you're going to have, for anything you've got in your cart, you're going to have access to a special discount that no one else will get. Now, so there's the lead up. During, obviously, there's the very light brushing that you and I just talked about, that I go into a lot more deeper detail within my course.
Sure.
But then let's talk about after, because afterwards, you've now got great video, right? Because it's gone live, but it was on camera. You can sit there and put it onto video, and you
Hmm.
can slice it into each individual content. So we have that even in the world of TV home shopping, and go onto any network, and you'll see there'll be little shorts. That's ultimately what they are, little short clips that are attached to whatever product is on. And now that is content that lives within the site, so as part of their e-commerce, right? But
Yeah.
also, this can also be part of your social strategy, your social media strategy. And the more you follow up with the success, and even sometimes honestly perceived success, because there's different measurables, as we know, right? That's going to help feed and funnel into your next event, because we know this
Correct.
is a marathon, right? It's not a
Correct.
race, it's not a sprint, but it is something that if you start now with all those strategies and with getting involved in this type of essentially content marketing, when everyone else 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, Gen Alpha, when that's the only way they shop because they're a digital, born into the digital age, you're going to be that leader. And that's the key. So yes, pre, during, and post, you need that support for that one event.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I think it's very, very important, right? All this prior to the event and post event. What we see from our platform is that a lot of the sales are happening post the event, like within the next 24 hours. On the VOD level, you can still buy, with the video checkout. You can still, see the history of the chat. And a lot of sales are happening post the event, so which is really, really nice. So we always encourage customers to maintain the discounts again if they have the inventory, so users can so they can maximize the users, and of course implement variety of like outreach messaging or workflows to make sure people are those who abandon the cart or those who didn't purchase, they still have the opportunity with maybe another coupon code to leverage the specific opportunity. So it's not just the video event and the production and scripting and all the storytelling that we discussed. Is a lot of smart, marketing or upselling tactics that needs to be implemented in various stages. So the next topic I want to talk to you about, various niches, right? I mean, obviously there is like direct to consumers, B2C type of customers in various niches, and but there's also B2B, right? And we can discuss about products, physical goods, and services and digital products. I think the latest insider intelligence report indicated like that digital products are like number two in live shopping today in the US, which is really amazing. So if we want to just differentiate the market and see what works today in which sectors, I would love to have your thoughts on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, whether you're, I mean, let's face it, digital products. We're seeing a massive boom in any of that right now, and in
Yeah,
particular, and this is where I think it's important to acknowledge that the skills as a live seller, and again, whether it's live or on video, having a structure, having a theme, um, gathering all the research that's relevant as they apply to the benefits and the features and
yeah,
all of that. Um, Even with affiliate marketing,
hmm,
we're seeing so many that are able to reach people like never before. And I know with your
correct,
platform, there's that ability as well,
correct,
to be able to sort of work within that. And, there's never been more opportunity now to reach so many people with such, I'm going to say, little effort with respect to technology as far as the user technology. Because I don't personally need to know how to code or create software to be
yeah,
able to do what
correct,
TV home shopping networks and live streamers within those networks are able to do. I mean, we're talking, millions and billions of dollars of technology that I get to access for whatever a month or every use
yeah,
and a click on a button. So yeah, I mean, I think that the growth of that, I think I can't remember where I was reading this, but just acknowledging that this is the year of the digital, right? The digital marketer, the
sure,
affiliate marketer, and to be able to access so much for really so little effort and investment, even as an individual, right? And then businesses who have a little bit more budget, yeah, they can toss a few more resources in there. But really, I mean, it's just one of the most efficient ways to be able to access a consumer, right?
sure, sure, correct. Yeah, I mean, really, appreciate the response and the feedback because we see that various companies are trying to work with large celebrities or influencers, with the hope of a major sales in a specific event. And I think it's important for the audience to understand and know that you know amazing sellers and exciting sellers who can spend half an hour or 1 hour with a captivating audience can come from various backgrounds, right? It doesn't have to be a mega celebrity. By the way, those are probably most of them are not well trained or suited to run
And
these,
expensive and
and they're
expensive.
very expensive, right? So I just wanted to you please to elaborate on that because I think it will give a lot of hope, right, for many sellers who are trying to jump, to live shopping because sellers can be successful with any backgrounds. You don't know, right? We need to check, we need to test. Obviously, you are doing that and certifying with building up the rosters of professional certified sellers. So yeah, what do you think about that?
So it's interesting that you talk about that because one of the examples I use, and 100%, and I'm not saying that just because someone is a little bit more costly doesn't mean they're not worth it. Listen,
Sure.
I like there's a luxury goods market, and at the end of the day, you can get a paper bag and hold your lipstick. So of
Yeah.
course there's a market for everyone. But I always use this as an example. And, we all hear about the celebrities that are, getting whatever they're getting for whatever post or this and that and the other thing. Having someone like a post is not the same as having someone pull $1 out of their wallet, right? So
Yeah.
if you look at somebody who's got, let's say 1 million followers, and you go, I'm going to hire that person because they've got 1 million followers.
Hmm.
I listen, if that person I'm not saying this is a test, but let's imagine this. Let's imagine that person saying, everybody, I love you so much. Thank you for following me. Can everybody Vimo me or email me $1?
Yeah.
They're going to get some dollars,
Yeah.
100%. But they're not going to get they're not going to get $1 million. I
They're not going to get
guarantee.
$1 million. Of course not. Yeah.
Right. Because influence means you actually have to influence. Now, perhaps the mistake was made years ago when someone called someone an influencer just because they got likes and had reach, because that's actually just exposure.
Sure.
Influence means you can influence behavior. And I'm not saying people aren't doing that, but I think now we're starting to see, right? Like from a brand paying someone hosting an event, can they influence? So that means convert customers. So when we talk about who can be your host, can it be a celebrity? 100%.
Sure.
But either they need to know the specialized skills and strategies that people like me, that TV home shopping hosts, that regular salespeople who have never appeared on camera know how to do. If you don't know how to do that, you may not be as strong of an influencer as you think. And so who can host outside of a celebrity? Well, it can be your salesperson. It could be
Yeah.
the president of the company. It can be the skincare formulator, the yoga teacher, the bartender, the chef. It depends on what you're selling. A, they still need to be comfortable on camera. They should know how to carry a conversation that they can only hear one side of, right? Understanding the questions someone through the screen might be asking.
Sure.
If that if they're not able to do that, does that mean they can't be a part of your show? No. But whoever is at the helm, right? Whoever is the host or the anchor, right? Whoever, they need to have those skills so that they can tee up the experts. So if I were doing a show, if I was a host for a cookware company, right?
Hmm.
Let's say there was a cookware, like pots and pans.
Sure.
I would produce a show like this. And we're going to do all the promotion before and we know all that. But just from the execution of who do we put on camera, I would have the host that knows how to do kind of what I do, right? And I can cook and I can still cut tomatoes. I can do all that. But then I would have the chef who's maybe they're the official ambassador. Maybe they're the ones that you see on the billboards and in the magazines and on the digital ads, right?
Yeah.
Some chef that everybody knows holding the pan going, I use this brand all the time. Just because they can do that and they own that restaurant doesn't mean they know how to go live what we're doing. So
Sure.
then I would hire somebody like that knows how to do this part so that they can just do what they do, which is interact with the host and sell the product because they're using it. But then you've got the host that knows when to put the calls to action in, right? That knows how
Yeah.
to hook, that knows kind of the ins and outs that the chef, if they study, they probably would, but they want to do what they do. And that's good because that's going to sell. That's how I would produce that show.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. So, I mean, your background, I mean, all the years in Rogers Media and TV home shopping, I mean, it required, specific type of expertise, knowledge, energy, enthusiasm, right? And the ability to sell. Now, today's live shopping is more interactive, more quick, fast, right? And everything is probably many things are like totally different. So, what do you think are the skills that are essential today for a great host that weren't relevant, in the older days, when you were with Rogers Media?
So it's interesting because even when I was doing traditional morning TV,
Yeah.
right? Or location hosting or even sponsored segments, sometimes we think like doing a soccer lesson with at a kids camp is
Hmm.
just like regular TV. And really, we're still selling, right? You're not
Sure.
selling a product, but you're selling concepts, ideas. Maybe you're promoting an event. So let's
Yep.
first understand that sales is involved in everything we do. Even charities are selling, right?
Totally
Everybody is
agree. Yeah.
selling
Yeah.
something. Politicians are selling, everyone's selling, right?
Yes.
As far as the skills that I took from traditional mainstream media, first of all, to live stream shopping, or let's call it TV home shopping first, but there was
Hmm.
both. Okay. Um, there, when you're on a mainstream media like just regular television, there's less certainly the ability to react and interact in a live scenario. Even though you're broadcasting live, you don't really know what people are asking and saying, right?
Sure.
Unless they send an email and you get that the next day and then you respond. With the live stream, and this would be a talent that even TV home shopping hosts would have to, if they've never done a live stream before, would have to hone. They'd have to understand the idea. And trust me, they're used to doing more than one thing at once. They're used to hearing someone talking in their ear, seeing a producer go like this, or a camera person going, this is the camera, or pick up that, put it a little higher. So they're
Yep.
used to multitasking. But then you've also got to sometimes, unless you have a separate moderator working with your platform, you also have to understand that you also have to pay attention to what people might be asking and interacting with on a live feed, and be able to steer the route that you thought you were going on, and sometimes take a little bit of a different turn or a pause, right?
Hmm.
Or a slow down, right? So think of like traffic signals and streets.
Yep.
You sometimes might have to veer off just a little bit, because it is more important to answer that one question. And even though someone might go, well, why would you change your whole route for that one question? Because that's just the one person that was brave enough or had the time or the technology to be able to ask.
To ask.
There's
Yeah.
never just one person asking the question. If one person is asking it, there could be millions. And so it is
Yes.
important to be able to take that talent to the next level, where you know how to then ask that question, which also is an opportunity to address perhaps a barrier to purchase, right? Because that might make not only the one
Yes.
sale to the person asking, but to many, many, many more.
Yes. I mean, it's very, very important what you're saying because of this interactivity that wasn't there previously. It gives an opportunity to understand the language, right? Like the word bank of the audience and the potential shoppers, and actually probe for pains or opportunities and elaborate more and more. It's like opening a branch from the main skeleton that we thought, but going in a different direction, which is much more, effective and working like now in real time. So it's this dynamic type of characteristics, I think, probably is a a topic that needs to be trained, I guess, and people needs to be open, right, to brainstorm and to find different routes within an event and take these different turns here and there.
And I have another one for you.
Okay.
So in mainstream media, if I were to do a live hit at even a store, maybe
Yeah.
they paid for advertising time at whatever store to feature Mother's Day gifts. Let's say that. I would execute that segment and it's done,
Yeah.
right? I say what I need to say. I've got, what are my points of difference? What am I going to say? How am I going to get it out?
Hmm.
When you do TV home shopping, um, you may have only 2 or 3 minutes on a product. And so you kind of get not dissimilar, you kind of get the information out, some calls to action, and all of this other thing. When you're doing a live stream, and it depends on how long the live stream is going to be, and there are many arguments for all different kinds of lengths and how many products and all of that. You have to be able to repeat information without sounding repetitive, right? Because everybody
Yes.
ingests information differently. And so it's the same product. But when I say whatever it is I'm saying, whether it's a permission to buy element or a scenario visualization or reading a testimonial, right? Because
Hmm.
providing proof, that's also another important element to a live stream shopping show in
Sure.
converting customers. One testimonial or one feature as it relates to a benefit might react to that one person and they're ready to buy, and the other person goes, nope, not for me, and they've already tuned out, until you somehow are able to say essentially the same thing, right? Your hair dries 50% faster. Well, some person's going to go, great, perfect.
Yes,
Well,
this
now
is
I'm
what
going
I
to
was
go,
waiting for. Great.
that's
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
50% faster. But what else is it doing? Oh, by the way, your hair is actually healthier because you use this, because of the ion technology or the titanium plates or
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And now that person is like, oh, now, whoa, you got me now.
Yeah.
Essentially said the same thing. It's the same product, but I was able to translate it differently. And so for live stream, that's now the evolution of the talent that goes beyond. And again, this is why I say influencer, we need to redefine what that means, because that
Yes.
is true influence.
Yeah. No, truly. I mean, everything is like. I totally agree with everything. I mean, these are all the the gold type of values and information, right, that are relevant for live shopping success. And everything is here in this podcast. I'm really, really interested and excited about all this knowledge. So thanks a lot. I think this is a great opportunity for you to tell us about your live selling talent roster. And I would like to know what triggers you to initiate this and what is it's all about.
So the reason, honestly, it was a necessity to initiate it in my conversations with different agencies
Okay.
and brands, and in particular agencies, and PR agencies is what I'm
Hmm.
is what I'm talking about. It was the understanding of they wanted me to start to help participate in some of the selection, right? Like who should we get for this? And of course,
Got it.
agencies, they've got
Yeah.
their own rosters, 100%.
Hmm.
But a roster of influencers is not the same as a roster or a directory of live selling
Selling.
talent, right?
Correct.
And that could be a live selling influencer. It
Yeah.
could be a live selling chef. It could be a live selling brand associate. It could be a live, it doesn't matter. Influencers, again, we're going to broaden out who can be live sellers, but influencers 100% are primed for that opportunity. So I was getting asked about kind of on the front end, who might be a good fit for this. And then I thought, well, okay, that person on paper might be a good fit, but have they actually done even any element of on camera customer conversion, at least with the motivation of customer conversion, not just likes and follows?
Yes.
And so through my live selling school, certainly anyone that's gone through my program, they definitely have the training, right? But they still need to showcase that they can do something on camera. So with that directory, I've now got, a building of it. I literally just launched it. Where there's an opportunity for me to at least have sort of a short demo, even if it's something someone created themselves for this purpose. Now, this isn't going to be a public directory where anyone can just Google in on there,
Uh-huh.
because it's
Okay.
really more of a service that I can offer to people that I'm
And
working
you
with.
tailor made it per the specific case.
Even if someone called me, like if you called me and said, hey, Don, we've got, an activation for X brand, and they're
Yep.
really looking for somebody who is not only a foodie, but they're actually a trained chef.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we know they're good on camera, and either they have the skills, or Don, you can coach them to get the skills right away. I would include those people on my directory, and I would, free of charge. I'm not going to sit there and charge you to give you a name. Like, if the goal here is for everybody who wants to get involved in live stream,
Yes.
for them to have an opportunity. And if you need for you to be able to do what you're doing with your client base, right? And this is for any brand too, even if someone's just doing a Facebook Live, honestly, who can we get? I'm happy to share that information, because we all rise, right? When everyone starts to understand the power of live and video.
Yeah.
And so that's why I created this roster. So you can find it at livesellingschool.com, or I've actually created a separate landing page, livesellingtalent.com. And
Okay.
I've got an area where brands or agencies can click on and request, hey, we need talent for this. And if I don't have somebody within that niche, because it's also categorized by niche,
Mm-hmm.
if I don't have someone, I have the resources and the sort of the network to be able to find someone. So
Amazing.
still put that out there. And then there's a button for live selling talent. Now, this is not a, hey, you apply, you get on the list. There's a criteria. You have to
Sure.
have gone live. Extra bonus points if you actually hosted a live stream shopping event
Hmm.
or video or something like that.
Yeah,
Or you've also gone through my training program, which at least at the very least, if you haven't gone live, I know that I've given you exactly what I've done to sell, you know, tens of millions of dollars in product personally. So that's my
exactly.
formula. That's my method. So at the very least, I know that I've given you the framework. And then if I want to, coach the person a little extra or be involved in that, we can do that. So that's why I did it. It's because it's needed. It's
Yeah,
also because nothing like that exists.
sure. This is why we need to talk after this episode. I think we have a lot of things to explore here. So actually, these are like talents that are, let's call them certified or like DONS approved, right? There you have some
Yeah.
responsibility for that. For that.
Sure. I mean, there's no like, it's not a Harvard approved program by any
Yeah,
means, but there is no other program doing what I'm doing. And so I take my reputation also very seriously, right? I
sure,
think my authenticity, I hope, translates how much pride I have in what I have learned over the years. And by the way, learned from the best of the best. And now I'm passing on that knowledge, but I also understand the modern day technology, which if you ask somebody who's doing the job that I'm doing, from 50 years ago, they may not understand sort of the
sure,
technology or at least the potential. So I kind of also bridge that gap. But 100%, I mean, I am super proud of what I do. And so when we say a graduate of live selling school, that's me saying, hey, listen, I can't guarantee results. No one can. You can't guarantee results either. Nobody can. But
nobody. Yeah,
when you have all the great ingredients for a recipe, right? You've got the cookbook from your favorite chef and they give you the ingredients. They tell you what temperature to put it on. They tell you how long to let a meat rest or do whatever. You're set up for the very best success that you can have. Now, I can't control
sure,
certain elements, right? But I can tell you, I'm going to give you the best chance of success because I've been successful just like you have, and you're going to do the same thing. And that's what we all do as a community is we want to create the best scenario, not just for the brand, not just for the retailer, but most importantly, and this is where we always have to remember, everything we do has to be with the customer and the viewer in mind. And so part of live selling
yeah,
skills, part of platforms like you is to create a great customer experience. And that's everything that I'm trying to work with my live selling talent
correct.
and my delivery.
And obviously working, with the data, getting all these insights and improve along the way, right? That's also
Evolution.
part of the process.
Always got to
Yeah,
evolve.
exactly, exactly. So I mean, we spoke about authenticity, which is like a major word, a major keyword in the last year, and I think the second one is TikTok, right? And specifically TikTok Shop. I don't know if you saw the last recommendation that they've made that sellers should spend at least 2 hours on live shopping events for the algorithms to work on their favors. And I would love to hear your thoughts about that recommendation.
So listen, I could host a TikTok for 2 hours, but talking to yourself on video, even just imagine practicing something where you're talking for 2 hours and trying not to make it sound boring or too repetitive. It is not a simple task. So,
Sure.
first of all, if you're going to try to do that, you 100% cannot wing it. You have to have a plan, right?
Yeah.
I get the algorithm stuff, and I should say I get it as far as what most people get. I mean, I am not a super tech, how important that algorithm is 100%. And to viewership, that is so important to reach 100%. Does it convert customers? Hard to say. So there's that. I'd like to see the proof that 2 hours for actual sales mean
Yes.
I get the algorithm, but does it actually translate into sales? Um, I don't know. I think, 2 hours is a long time. Even in TV home shopping. I mean, I've hosted 1 hour all on my own. I've actually hosted more than that on my own too, but you have to have a great number of products. And not too many because you still need to give people time to buy.
Sure.
But I don't know. I would be curious your thoughts on that because 2 hours is the algorithm's important, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not the only part,
Look, I
right?
mean, for North American audience, I don't think it's makes sense at all, right? But I
No,
guess it's a different type of event. Maybe multiple products, multiple departments,
multiple
different
hosts,
multiple
multiple hosts.
hosts and sellers. Yeah, I guess it's like a new breed of of an event that we
Yeah.
never thought of, but at least we need to try, right?
That's what I would do though.
Yeah,
I I would if I were hosting a 2-hour TikTok live, so speaking, me as a brand, not me as a host, right?
Yes.
I were a brand, even a mall. Let's say it was a mall that had a TikTok, and they go, we're going to feature, this is how I would do it. And this is just off the fly. If I were a mall, so your client could be a mall, right?
Yeah.
I would find 10 different retailers within that mall. Everyone's going to probably be in one vicinity, right? Or you've got multiple, I'm going to assume there's a potential for multiple cameras, multiple streams. Maybe you could have a couple of locations and jockey back and forth. Let's use
Exactly.
that as an
Yeah.
example. I would have a different host because the expertise of the host may tie in to different brands and different mall concepts. And this is where it could be different niches. So let's say
Yes.
the mall has a makeup store, has a clothing store, has a separate jewelry store, because you can see we're going to build something here, right? And maybe there is an other element. Maybe it's I don't know, hairstyling. Let's
Yes.
pretend. I would have separate locations and I would divvy the time. So let's say it's 2 hours. I would not spend, equal amounts in one block on each. I would do a pass by twice.
Yeah.
My math isn't going to work right now, but I would go X amount of time times 4, right? At different stores or 5. And then I would jockey back to those again, because you're not going to get people tuning in for 2 hours.
No.
100%.
And again, it's different demographics, a different segment for each one of the products, right?
Television.
Yeah.
Even in mainstream TV home shopping, other than a super fan, a person that loves the host or loves that brand, the average watch rate is around, if you're lucky, 11 minutes.
Wow. Really?
Right? If you're lucky, 11 minutes.
Amazing.
That's why the hook and all that stuff is important.
Wow.
So
yeah,
2 hours, great for the algorithm. But what I would do is I would create almost mini shows within that 2-hour block. So you might even do 3 times around the circle, around the horn of those retailers for that one mall. The mall is the client, right?
Yeah.
That's how I would do it.
Yeah. But I think it's, again, there is more complexities, because what we see right now, even from single brands, they are creating like multiple accounts just to target, like be laser focused on the specific demographics on every product line they have, right? And you need to have like one account doing 2 hours multiple times. There is no audience who can sustain this longer time, and it's less counterintuitive to the fact that even marketplaces, brands that are creating this multiple accounts just to target and save time and be respectful for the audience, like have been there for like maybe 50 minutes, 20
That's
minutes.
the key.
That's the max. Yeah. So I don't see how it's going to work. I think it's really a big challenge.
You used a really great term, respectful to the audience,
Yeah.
because you're right. It's a privilege to be invited. Again, Gen Alpha, when they're older, they're going to go, remember back in the day when we had a television set?
Yeah.
But, it's a privilege to be taking up anybody's time. Like anybody
Sure.
watching or listening to this podcast, it's a privilege for them to be taking the time to do that. And you want to be able to make it interesting and engaging for them. And the TikTok audience, that is 100% a concern is, yeah, I'm scrolling at night. I'm not going to lie. I'm scrolling TikTok and watching everybody and the dances. And even those have died down because that was a trend 3 months ago and now everyone's doing something different. I think that that's going to be a challenge for TikTok. It's a challenge anyway when you have a dedicated audience, but when you have TikTok and it's a lot of scrolling, you've got to have short bite-sized pieces. And that's why if you're going to engage for the whole purpose of the algorithm, then make your shoppable content short within that longer form, if that makes sense. I think that's the only way that it might work, but it's evolving. And listen, kudos to anybody that is just going live.
Sure.
Right? Just go live. I mean, it's not all going to work. We know that, right? But go live and then figure out what works for you based on expertise of what
100%.
other people, other experts that are doing it can offer.
Correct. Great. So, I mean, we believe in, the future of e-commerce should be interactive, should be personalized. And definitely, I would love to have your thoughts on the future of live stream shopping or shoppable media in general. What do you think is going to happen, in the next, 5 years, 10 years?
Well, I mean, uh, first of all, I think it's not going anywhere. And I mean, that's not, listen, I teach people how to sell and connect through technology. So
Yeah,
my skin in the game isn't whether the term live stream shopping lasts, right? I'm talking about a term,
sure.
right? Because we've heard live stream shopping, we hear live commerce, we hear social commerce. I mean,
Yeah,
it might be called something different at some other point, but the concept of sales and in the case of what we're doing and what we're talking about, it is through the screen.
yeah,
If you were to ask me almost a question where it was like, okay, what do you think is going to happen with brick and mortar stores 10, 15, 20 years from now? We would all easily say, oh, we're going to see all of those brick and mortar stores moving towards some sort of evolution of their e-commerce strategies, bringing
yeah.
a face to it, right? Because
Yes.
this is what I was talking about before,
Like
the
the
advent.
real omni-channel,
Exactly.
strategy, like
Exactly.
experience centers. Oh, yeah,
Right, because it is. It's part of the experiential marketing, right?
sure.
Creating an immersive experience. And I mean, let's face it, if we go 20, 30 years down the net, listen, if we go Star Trek, we're going to be transporting into those stores. But until
Yes.
such time, this is what
Yeah.
we have.
No. No.
And it's
Definitely.
right, but it's the advocacy the way you would have in store. And so I 100% see that, 10, 15 years down the road, what's that going to look like? I don't know. What is our technology going to look like?
Yes.
Are we going to be off on a watch? Are we going to be on a wall? Your whole wall is going to be some sort of
Yeah.
screen. I don't know. But what I can tell you is the idea of using certain language that can have people feel as though they are, I call it seeing the feel, right? If you can't touch, taste, or try on it yourself, you need to have someone present. And by present, I mean it could be demonstrate, or it could be the way you talk about it, how you describe something.
Hmm.
They need to feel as though they are personally experiencing it. And that I don't think will ever change. I don't think that's going to change today,
Sure.
tomorrow, 3 weeks, 3 years, 300 years from now. Is technology and the lack of interpersonal communication and interaction. So the less face to face we have,
Yeah.
the less authentic face to face conversations we have, the more important that translation and amplification of authenticity through the screen is. And that will never die. In fact, I think that will become of incredible importance because here's the thing, how many kids, and again, now I'm going to sound like the old lady, but we have never been more connected with technology, but we have never been less connected and less
Exactly.
able to
Yeah.
talk to people because of technology. I love technology. I don't want technology to go anywhere. But if everyone just keeps looking at their phones and doesn't know how to, at least if they're looking at their phones, still maintain personality,
Yeah.
still maintain the ability to have a conversation, then there's going to be a lot of problems. And so the person appearing with those brands or on behalf of those brands, using the amazing technology that we have, that you have, they need to be able to still be able to communicate. And so teaching a younger generation how to communicate that way is going to help them be a better everything. So live selling skills, using technology and being able to translate how you describe a
Yes.
product or an experience is still going to be important, and that's not going anywhere.
Yes, and because they're growing up from an early stage with the mobile phone, they are, presenting and sharing videos, from the camera is like a native characteristic for them. It's like this thing that they do. If you wake them up in the middle of the night, it's different than our generation, I guess. Right?
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing. I watch some of these, YouTubers, and they can talk to
Yes, with,
themselves.
with confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now all they need, and I would say that's the kind of host that you want. But now that YouTuber who is super comfortable talking about nothing really, but they're still that's the perfect person.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
you give them the content, you give them the research, you give them the strategies, And that's going to be the home run for your audience. So I would be more likely than picking a select. So let's go back to who should they bring in? Is it a celebrity or can it be anybody?
Yeah.
My husband and I watch more YouTube from somebody that I have no idea who they are. We watch more than that than we do any other kind of programming. And now
Yes.
if a brand can get involved with a talent, and I'm going to call them talent because it is a talent to talk through a camera and to have people, strangers from around the world watching you for like to talk about what you ate for lunch.
Yeah.
That's still important. That is a communication skill that not everyone has, but it's still not enough to convert. So you'll always need skills and you'll always need to understand the technology, even if you don't understand how it's created. So like your platform, I think to myself, you just tell me what button to press. You just tell me what I need to do so that I can go live and do what
Hmm.
I do. And I think
Yeah.
that's where having the technology like you have is
Sure.
so incredibly important, and to make it user friendly. And it's never been a better time for somebody to engage in this time of marketing and in this type of retail as what we have right now.
Exactly. Exactly. And we know video works, right? Definitely the, like short form videos, they're like super, super successful right now. And, I see also scenarios right now when, in this between 30 to 60 minutes, you can convert to purchase. And this is I think, a niche that is like ramping up right now. People are posting like, the short form videos up to 1 minute, but then you can promote a product, tag a product in this post, right? And even convert to a landing page. So that's definitely something that I'm sure that you're working also with your clients. And, before we going to do a summary of everything. And so you're working with talents on training for performing those live shopping events. You work with brands. You work with agencies. Anything that I've missed?
I don't think so. I think you've covered it all. And I think if I could offer just any advice to anybody out there is, and in particular brands, this is the time to start to elevate what you're already doing, because the longer you wait, the the more opportunity someone who's behind you,
Yep.
right? The more opportunity your competitor has to do exactly what you're hearing about right now, but not really executing. And it doesn't have to happen all at once. You just have to get started. Part of listening to a podcast like this or watching the video is educating yourselves. And you're right, we know the power of video, we know the power of content,
Sure.
and then we know the power of a great product and a great offer. So all we're doing is we're taking all these great ingredients and we're going to create a meal. And when we taste that meal, we're going to go, "Ooh, I like that meal. And hey, overall, it's really good. Could use a little more salt." Okay, great. So what
Correct.
is the salt in that ingredient pack of live or video commerce for you? Now we're going to start to tweak it, right? And
Yes.
at some point, we're going to perfect it. But you gotta go grocery shopping, and you gotta turn on the oven, and you gotta take a bite.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. So Don, wow, this was really, really amazing and insightful. And before we finish, what can you tell us tell us something about yourself that most people don't know?
Oh gosh. Well, uh, and some people do know this, but you might not know this. So I am an award-winning jazz singer.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
I don't
Wow.
perform as much anymore, but yeah, I've released 2 CDs. It was my music that got me into television in the first place, and yeah, I've sung
Wow.
with the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra. I've also, here's another fun fact: if you are watching pretty good portion of TV programming, whether it's on Netflix or Christmas shows or
Yep.
sci-fi, I am often seen as your friendly neighborhood reporter or news anchor.
Yeah. This I saw. Yeah.
Okay, so I surprised you on one.
Yeah. 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 Still one I got right. So it's nice. Wow. Really amazing. Great, great, great stuff. We need to follow up on this jazz singing thing later on. Great. So, Don, where can people find you? What is the best way to reach out to you?
I am on all social media at Don Chubai. And of course, if you want to learn more about my live selling program, it's livesellingschool.com. I've got free resources there as well, including the essentials of live selling, the foundations and strategies. There's a free video series there if anyone wants to check that out. The content calendar I spoke about can be found there as well. And of course, if you want to learn more about my HSH, home shopping host method of live selling, you can find out all about that at livesellingschool.com.
Amazing, Don. Thank you so much. This was really, really, amazing episode. Great value to audience, and really appreciate your time, experience, and the energy and enthusiasm. Thank you so much.
And thank you, because I want to also say you were, I think, the very first that reached out to me when I launched Live
Yeah.
Selling School. And that gave me just such a boost and a bump to have somebody that understood what I was doing, knowing that no one else was really doing it. And you told me as much. And I wanted to thank you so much for being such an early advocate and for having me on your show. It's such an important day for me. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye bye.